Good morning, Alexandra. How are you doing today?
Good. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Sound great.
Okay.
And
So,
just for clarification, it's Hunius?
Huneeus, we say.
Huneus.
Yeah.
Huneus. All right, great. All right,
A
cool.
question for you.
Mhm.
For some reason, my camera's on the wrong screen. But this is
Yeah.
a radio show, so it doesn't matter, I imagine, or
Well,
does
you're
it
on.
matter?
Well, we're on a live stream right now, so people will
Yeah.
see you on the live stream. So you can. I mean, if I wouldn't worry about that so much. So
Oh, too bad. Okay. I don't know how to do this.
you're doing great.
All
I can
right.
see you.
Yeah.
Um.
Okay. No, because I just have some notes I want to refer to, so
Oh yeah,
I might
and
be
you can
looking at
feel
the
free
wrong.
to look at those notes and
Okay.
don't worry about that. That's absolutely fine. So,
Because
Alexandra,
it's
who
radio, right? It's not.
it's It's
Or
mainly
do you?
radio,
Okay.
but
Okay.
we are on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. So
Okay. Okay.
yeah.
So it's not just radio. Okay. Gotcha.
Okay. All right. We come back in about a
I
minute.
should have.
I'm gonna put you back into the waiting room, and I'm
Okay.
gonna do an intro up top. I will talk about just briefly introduce the topic, and then I'll bring you out. Alexandra Huneeus, a professor at UW Law, an expert in international law and human rights. That's good.
Perfect. And
Wonderful.
yeah, and one question I should have asked before. Can you say a bit about your audience? Who's the audience in general?
I mean, they're all across the state. They
Uh-huh.
are, I would say if I had to guess their ages, I would say in their 30s to, I know we get listeners in their 70s and 80s, and people who
Okay.
just want to hear a good conversation about the topics that are going on in the world and Wisconsin.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
All right. All right. Start in 20 seconds.
Great.
Welcome to Mid Mornings on Civic Media. My name is Greg Bach. I am your host. I welcome you to this day, to this Monday, to this brand new week. Very happy, very excited to have you here with us this morning. Happy you're spending your time with us today. If you want to be part of the conversation, you can always get in touch with us by calling or texting. The number is the same, 855-752-4842, 855-75-CIVIC. You can leave a comment on the live stream. We are currently streaming on Facebook, YouTube, and the platform that we still call Twitter. Lots of great stuff coming up for you today. After the 9:30 break, we are going to be speaking to Miguel Arandas, who is running for the 1st Congressional District seat, U.S. Congress seat in the 1st District here in Wisconsin. That's Racine, Kenosha, and a little bit west of there as well. We'll talk more about that, why he's running, what got him into the race, and get to know him a little bit more. Lots of new people running this year. It's an election here in Wisconsin. So Miguel Aranda's coming up after the 9:30 news. And then in the second hour, after the top of the hour news, we're going to be having Dr. Kristen Lyerly back. We have missed her. It's been a while. And we're going to be talking about all sorts of news coming out of the world of medicine, specifically focusing on the new vaccine recommendations from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, what Wisconsin is doing in turn, as well as what, she is a doctor. She is a practicing doctor. What her thoughts on these new recommendations and what parents should be doing, because there's a lot of questions. There's a lot of maybe fear going on with these new vaccine recommendations, telling parents maybe to slow the schedule down. But we'll be talking more to Dr. Lyerly about that in the second hour. Of course, audio sorbet at 10:35. Heartbreaking Packers loss. What are your thoughts on it? Would love to know. Maybe talk about the Golden Globes that happened last night. And then finally, this shouldn't be a thing. Today it is the For the Dogs edition, so don't go anywhere. We have lots of great show ahead of us. But now we're going to turn it to, we have a guest this morning at the top of the show. As we all know, as we all saw in the news 2 Saturdays ago, the U.S. government, I'm actually going to ask our guest this, because some say invaded, some say intervention, but we bombed the capital of Venezuela. We obtained their president and his wife, and we brought them to America. And to really further talk about this more, because I am not an international law expert, but I have one here today. Our first guest this morning is a professor at UW Law who is an expert in international law and human rights. Please welcome to the show Alexandra Huneeus. Alexandra, thank you so much for being here for today. We really appreciate your time. How are you this morning? And real quick, how was your weekend?
I had a good weekend, thank you, and
Good.
thanks so much for
Excellent.
having me on the show.
Yeah. So I want to start this off really basic because, it's kind of a two-parter right up top. First of all, tell us about, what you do as an international law expert. And last week we saw some pundits giving their thoughts that international law doesn't exist at all. So tell us about what you do as an international law expert, and tell us, does international law actually not exist anymore?
So I teach international law at the
Yeah.
University of Wisconsin, and
Yeah.
my work, my research and writing is all about international law.
Yeah.
We've just published an edited volume called Latin American International Law in the
Yes.
21st Century that was all written prior to the Trump administration's taking office, and focusing and recasting what Latin American international law is. So that's what I do. And when I teach, I take head on this question of, does international law really exist?
Yeah.
Because it really is a theme in the US, and a lot of students come into the class and into even law school wondering whether it exists, because it is a legal system. I assert it is a legal system, but it's so different from domestic law. It's so different from how we see law working within the United States, and with how we imagine it works in the United States, where you have, if someone, commits a crime, you have a police investigation, and then you have a prosecutor, and then the prosecutor, issues a warrant, and then the executive carries it out, and this centralized hierarchical enforcement system that exists in domestic law doesn't exist in international law. But that doesn't mean that it's not law. It just has it's just a decentralized system of law that doesn't have this hierarchical authority and this way of enforcing itself that domestic law has. So it makes it hard, that you have to really understand international law, you have to be able in your mind to separate legality from enforcement through police. And that's really hard for us to do, because whenever we see law domestically, they go hand in hand.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that, when I think of international law, I think of a lot, as you said, decentralized. There's a lot more conversation happening between countries, and some would say, well, this isn't a crime, and some will say this is a crime, and it's about coming together and having consensus to enforce what you're saying. Now, with what happened in Venezuela 2 Saturdays ago, and I know you heard this, I truly don't know how to describe what happened, because some people say it's an attack, some say intervention, some. As far as international law goes, as far as what you saw, what would describe what the U.S. did that Saturday? And are there any new developments we've seen coming out of Venezuela? We see that Nicolas Maduro and his wife are in New York to stand trial, but what do you see as an expert that we might not be seeing as developments in that country?
Those are, two very different questions. But to address the first one, what is this? I think, it's an intervention. Of course, it is an intervention in another state's domestic affairs. You're taking away the head of state. And it is an attack. It is an armed attack. And that particular wording is very significant in international law, because once you open an armed conflict, right, an international armed conflict, then the laws of war kick into play. So I think there's no question here at this point that what happened last Saturday was the beginning of an international armed conflict. Whether the armed conflict is ongoing might be more debatable, because there hasn't been engagement, but there is a blockade. So likely it is an ongoing international armed conflict. Therefore, the laws of war apply.
If you're just joining us right now on Mid Mornings on Civic Media, we are speaking to Alexandra Huneeus, who is a professor at UW Law and an expert on international law and human rights with a specific concentration, as you said, in South America. You know, that what your answer tells me, like it makes complete sense. When you add in the fact that we took the leader and his wife and brought them to America, what does that even like? What does that move push this? I mean, the fact that there hasn't been a declaration of war, it feels like, because of such a brazen, unexpected attack, and then you take the leader away. What else does that do to the whole conflict? I mean, I've in my life I've never seen this before, so I'm really it's a new experience as a citizen. What does that
Hmm.
mean for the whole action as on a whole?
Yeah. And I think this gets to the second question that you asked, what's
Hmm.
going on the ground? Because you take away the head of state, it's and not only, is it arguably a breach of international law, because of the intervention in the sovereign affairs of the other state, and because of starting an armed conflict, which itself is a um, breach of the fundamental norms of the international order, that you only use force in self-defense. But it also creates a great risk within Venezuela, because now there's everyone is scrambling to figure out what happens next and who's in
Hmm.
charge. And there's, of course, a potential of some pretty uh, troubling outcomes to the next steps, as we've seen in other countries when the United States intervenes in order to create regime change. It's one thing to, topple the person who's in charge, and quite another to put in place, a stable and hopefully democratic subsequent order. So I think in Venezuela, so far, what's happened is that the vice president has assumed leadership of the country, which means that the Chavistas, right, the party led by Maduro, is still in charge.
Hmm.
And there's a real question as to, well, what does that mean for this whole idea of regime change, right? Like, the US is there to create regime change, but they've
Hmm.
kind of given their blessing for the second in command, pretty much handpicked by Maduro, and a hardcore Chavista. To assume power, so we will see. It's
Yeah.
unclear yet how the United States sees this playing out. The United States administration has not shared with us any sort of planning that they have over what are the next steps. Right? We don't know
Yeah.
what the ideas are. They going to call for elections? What's going to be the role of the opposition? Right?
Hmm.
The Trump administration had been working closely with Maria Machado, and who was sort of the leader of the opposition, very popular leader within Venezuela, but she was suddenly sidelined, right? And instead, the vice president, Dilce Rodriguez, was put in power, or sort of given the United States blessing to assume power. So, and so then the question is, how are those two forces going to work together, and with the United States, in order to put Venezuela on track for what will hopefully be a peaceful transition to
Hmm.
democracy and stabilization of the economy, and hopefully creating the conditions for those, 8 million people have left Venezuela since the Chavismo started, and
Hmm.
in a country of only 38 million people. So you know, hopefully creating the conditions for an end to one of the world's worst refugee crises.
And that's the thing too, is like the time, that's a whole other conversation, is like the history of Venezuela, how Maduro has impacted. But like, I mean, what that is, the information there, with the leader of the opposition party, who's a Nobel Peace Prize winner, who thanked Trump in her speech, like said thank you for the encouragement, has been sidelined. That brings up so many questions. But one of the things I want to talk about, when we're going to take a small break and come back, and when we come back, I want to talk about the fact that as you mentioned, this is sort of a new type of, quote, regime change plan, if you will, in the U.S. history, as far as I'm seeing, and with Venezuela. And I also want to talk about what the capture of Maduro means for future actions from either the U.S. or other countries, as a way of saying, this is precedent now. They did this. We can do it. So when we come back, we're going to speak more with Alexandra Huneas, who is a professor at UW Law and an expert in international law as well as human rights. Don't go anywhere. If you have any questions, comments, please give us a call, 855-752-4842, 855-75-CIVIC. You're right here on Mid-Morning Civic Media. My name is Greg Bach. Don't go anywhere. Stay tuned, stay informed, and stay close. All right, cool. We take a 2-minute break, about 2.5-minute break right now. Are there any questions for me? Anything you'd like to touch on? Because this is 7.5 minutes, so a little bit shorter. But like, if there's anything you'd like me to steer towards that you would like to cover, I'm happy to do that as well.
Let's see. I'm interested. We had talked about drug trafficking, or talking about also just what this means for the United States and Latin America.
Yeah, great.
Or international law more generally.
Okay.
But whatever you think is
okay.
Is
I mean, like again, this is a conversation that we could have you here for 2 hours to discuss, and I know that
yeah.
that's something that. I mean, I would love to keep the conversation going in the future, because I think this, especially from the international law side, is very, very important. As you put it, and it's very true. Like, international law for people, it can make people just go, I don't know what that means. What does that even?
Yeah. That's why it's important for me to talk about this stuff, to make it real. And how many more minutes then do we have?
When we come back, it'll be 7.5.
Okay.
So, and then we'll be good to go. And then when we're done, so Calvin, who is our tech producer, he'll do these signals. This means 3, 2, and if you're talking at this point, just you got to wrap it up, because we have the hard breaks. Okay. We don't want to cut you off. And then when we're done, I'm going to put you back into the waiting room. You can turn your camera off, but don't leave the stream. I'm just going to let that video and audio upload, and you'll be all set. But we're all good. We're great.
Wait. So don't leave until when?
When I'm going to put you back into the waiting room, and then you can turn your camera off, and you can leave. Just don't click off of StreamYard, because it'll upload your video and audio for the best resolution.
Okay.
All right. All right, we'll be back in about 30 seconds. Welcome back to Mid Mornings on Civic Media. My name is Greg Bach. I'm your host today. We are coming to you live from Radio Park in Racine. If you want to be part of the conversation, 855-752-4842, 855-75-CIVIC. Leave a comment on that live stream. We are on Facebook, YouTube, and the platform we still call Twitter. Lots of great shows still ahead of all of us, including a conversation with Miguel Arandas, who is running for the 1st District U.S. Congress seat that is up for election this fall, as well as a conversation in the second hour with Dr. Kristen Lyerly regarding vaccines, vaccine scheduling, and how Wisconsin's dealing with the new information from the Department of Health and Human Services. But right now, we are speaking with Alexandra Huneas, who is a professor at UW Law. She is also an expert in international law and human rights. We are talking about the armed attack in Venezuela 2 Saturdays ago and the capture of Nicolas Maduro as well as his wife, bringing them back to New York to stand trial, talking about the impacts and also, the perception of international law in America and abroad. And we were talking a little bit between the break, and one thing you brought up, and I think that's very important to discuss, is that this was all done in the guise of illicit drugs. We were told that it was because of drug trafficking. And what does that, when you hear that and what you see as far as Venezuela and what you know about the country, how does that translate to you as far as a reason given to Americans for doing what they did?
Yeah, it's been so interesting to watch the use of drug trafficking in both Operation Southern Spear, which was the attacks on the boats trafficking in the Caribbean, and then Operation Absolute Resolve, which is this direct attack into Venezuelan soil and taking and arresting of Maduro. In the first, and when they're attacking the boats in the Caribbean, Operation Southern Spear, the drug trade was explained to be itself an armed attack on the United States, and that the United States was using force in self-defense, and using sort of the language of the laws of war. With Operation Absolute Resolve, it's this sort of flipped, and now the use of force was used in order to create law enforcement, right? So this was framed publicly as a law enforcement action aimed at arresting Maduro on drug trafficking and weapons-related charges, rather than as a declaration of war or a regime change exercise. And then, Maduro arrives in the U.S. and is taken to the headquarters of the Drug Enforcement Administration. So, the justification for this operation is the idea that Venezuela is a hub for drug trafficking that poses a threat to the health and security of the United States. But the interesting things about this, as has been widely reported, is that Venezuela really is not the largest source of cocaine by any means. That would be, neighboring Colombia. And the real killer here is fentanyl, which comes not from Venezuela, but through Mexico. And based on U.S. drug enforcement data, Venezuela is responsible for just this tiny amount of the heroin, cocaine, meth, fentanyl imported into the U.S. So that's, it seems not to be the true motivation here. And then, of course, you have to remember, Trump just pardoned former Honduran President Juan Orlando Hernandez.
Yes.
And not enough can be said about the contrast, of indicting Maduro, going into Venezuela, arresting him on drug trafficking, weeks after pardoning someone who had been found guilty of conspiring to import cocaine into the United States, and significant amounts. So that, it's a pretty striking contrast. And then the third thing about this that's interesting for me, as someone who works on human rights and international criminal law, is that Maduro has been involved, like the Maduro regime has been involved in well-documented human rights violations that have been investigated. A UN independent fact-finding force just in December found that officials of Venezuela's National Guard have committed serious human rights violations, and that amount to crimes against humanity, and repression on political grounds. And so they cite to arbitrary deprivation of life, arbitrary detention, sexual and gender-based violence, torture, and other cruel, inhuman, and degrading treatment. So it's not clear to me why the administration has not chosen to pursue these kinds of charges. They might come later, perhaps they will, but it's interesting. To me, it's perhaps another indicator of an erosion of the norms that that have been built up, especially since World War II, in the
Mhm.
international legal order that really prioritize the dignity of the individual human, right? That's been such a focal
Yes.
point. And in past interventions, the US has always prioritized, human rights, even if they've just used it as a pretextual excuse. That's been, what they
Yeah.
try to focus on. So before the invasion of Afghanistan, there was a lot of talk of the human rights of women in that country. Here we're seeing a shift where that doesn't seem to be a focal point of the justification that the administration is using, which is an interesting development.
I mean, honestly, and we only have about a minute left. I mean, I think it's easier to describe this whole action to make it palatable to certain Americans as just literally just screaming out drugs are bad, and we're like, great, and we move on. And it's easier to digest that subject matter than it is the complex and nuanced topics of human rights, human rights violations, crimes against humanity, things of that nature. But drugs are bad. That's easy. People can take that. But Alexandra Huneeus is an expert in international law and human rights, also a professor at UW Law. Alexandra, thank you so much for being here today. I would like to keep this conversation going for the future because I think this is something people need to know about, not just Venezuela, but abroad. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day, Alexandra.
Thanks for having me. It's great talking to you.
You as well. When we come back, we'll be speaking with Miguel Aranda, who is running for Congress of the 1st District here in Wisconsin. Don't go anywhere. You are on Civic Media. Stay close. Thank you so much. Wow, that was an amazing answer. Like that was just, and I think something that also you said in the first segment that entire answer for the second segment really said there's no plan. There's no plan.
There must be more than what they're sharing because they've really been studying this for a long time since the first Trump administration. But yeah, it's a little bit frightening the amount of chaos that could and harm that could result if this is mismanaged.
And I could have talked to you for another half an hour on the whole quote regime change thing because the fact that the vice president is in charge and they're not okay. I don't believe. Good Lord, Mother Glory. But yeah, Alexandra, thank you so much. That was fantastic.
Thank you.
I hope that was when I say fun,
it was fun. Yeah, I don't much do these, but I'm super motivated right now because this whole thing has been just tremendous. So yeah, I appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah, I will speak to Tucker, and if we can have you back on to either talk about this or to expand on this conversation so people can just understand. Because as you yes, international law is something that it does exist. Sorry, pundits, but also people need to understand and know what, just have a basic idea of what it means. So, great. All right, so I'm going to put you back into the waiting room. Don't close out of StreamYard, but you can turn your camera off. You're free to do whatever you need to do. And then when everything is uploaded, I'll simply remove you from the studio, and that's your set.
Okay, great. Very nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you as well.
And thank you, Calvin, as well.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
Oh, all right,
take care.
Bye.
Oops.
Bye. Okay. Oh, fine. You're talking about me. Welcome back to Mid Mornings on Civic Media. My name is Greg Bach. I am your host, your buddy, your pal, and we are here coming to you live from Radio Park in Racine. If you want to be part of the conversation, you can always call, text 855-752-4842, 855-75-CIVIC. You can always leave that comment on the live stream as well. We are currently streaming on Facebook, YouTube, and that platform that Yes, we still call Twitter. Lots of great shows still ahead. We have at the top of the second hour, we have Dr. Kristen Lyerly, who's going to be here talking about vaccines, talking about food pyramids, talking about all the things that have happened since we've not all the things, but talking about all the main stories coming out of the world of medicine that really affect all of us here in Wisconsin and beyond. And then we got this audio sorbet talking Packers, and this shouldn't be a thing. Today is the For the Dogs edition. But right now, we're going to kick it over to an interview that I did last week with a young man who is running for the first congressional district seat for Congress here in Wisconsin. Miguel Arandas is the guest, and we had sat down. It'll be 2 segments. Very much looking forward to you hearing this. And this is a pre-recorded, just want to let you know. So, pre-recorded interview with Mr. Arandas talking about his campaign, his story, and why he got involved in this year's election. So go ahead and listen to that right now. I am very excited to talk to our next guest. He is running for Congress, for the U.S. Congress in the 1st District here in Wisconsin. Miguel Aranda is our guest. Miguel, good morning. How are you today?
Hey, good morning, Greg. Thank you so much for the opportunity to be over here, and it's a pleasure. And just talk a little bit more about myself with your audience.
Yeah, there you go. Okay, so you are running for the U.S. Congress for the 1st District here in Wisconsin. First of all, tell us about the district and tell us a little bit about yourself, your story.
Yeah, so the Congressional District 1 is a big one. So I've already won. I asked a couple of friends before I put my name in, and they're like, what? Are you sure you want to do it? Especially coming in from Whitewater, Wisconsin. Mm-hmm. So, it has a population, including the college students, maybe 15,000. So the region goes pretty much from South Milwaukee, Oak Creek, St. Francis, Franklin, and then, you got your Racine area down to Kenosha, and then it goes all the way on the west side. So that's going to be Rock County, so Janesville, Beloit. And so I'm coming in from I'm the only candidate, even against Iowa, Walworth County. Mm-hmm. So Whitewater has parts of Jefferson County, Walworth County, and Rock County. And so I was looking into all of that district. And, I am Latino. I'm a Latino male. Yeah. 35, just a little bit. So I'll transition a little bit about myself as well. And so I grew up in Whitewater. So I grew up in that Walworth area, county, the Elkhorn, the Lake Geneva. I have a lot of family who immigrated from Mexico, and they came around that area. And so I'm 35. I am happily married. My wife and I, we got 3 children. They're 10, 8, and 4. Okay. We're really happy. They all go. Public education is a passion of mine. I work at the university, but all 3 of them, 2 of them attended, and then our third one is going to be entering school soon. Okay. Yeah. So we've been really busy. And my wife is 33, and so when we talk about issues later on about working families, we literally live it. We talk about it almost every night, our finances. And so, and to add on to that, I am on the school board at Whitewater. I'm the second longest serving board member, vice president at the moment, but interestingly, I'm also the youngest on the board. So a lot of people question me, well, you're pretty young. And I'll be like, yeah, but I'm also the only one with a history of actual public service. And do you want to guess, Greg, how much we get paid being on the Whitewater School Board?
$10 million a year, sir. Is that a good guess?
Oh, I wish.
And how much, is it?
Oh, it's, we're given the opportunity $15 an hour.
Okay.
But at that point, we just waive it. Yeah, it's not even worth the paperwork at this point.
It's for serving the community. That's what you're
exactly
in it for. You're not. I don't know anybody who serves on a school board because they want the big bucks. So now, what you just described for me, Miguel, is somebody who is rooted in a community, rooted in Whitewater with family, and you have a wife and children, and you serve on the school board.
Yes.
So you have interest in your community. You have interest in your district, your state.
Yes.
So tell me, What was the catalyst to go from school board to say, I'm going to run for the 1st congressional district? When did you decide to run? When did you announce? And what are the things that pushed you towards this journey?
Wow. No, I really appreciate that question so much. And I definitely want to bring in a big, different perspective to the race. I have been a volunteer within the Democrat Party for 15 years. I stick it out through the wins and through the losses. And I've always shared my opinion. It's not always a popular one. But one of the biggest things that I have, because I've also been in Whitewater in our Economic Development Committee, right? And there's just a lot of frustrations that I saw that at the federal level that we could alleviate of what there's so much that local government can do. And there's so much red tape that we just can't do it. And then being on the school board, you just see the defunding of education. I'm going to blast them out, Republicans with the state surplus, and then our teachers, their salaries, their health benefits, and just all this accumulation of frustrations. And then within our Latino population, and then just talking to other families with children who maybe don't attend your regular Democrat meetings, their voices are not heard. Or they don't have that opportunity. And, I am unapologetic. I've told you, you should change your messaging, maybe focus a little bit more on healthcare, this and that. I'm not saying I'm against healthcare or farming or all that. I still support it 100%. But the big reason is affordable and accessible childcare. 100%. Especially in rural areas. And that's the other frustration is I'm bringing in an rural viewpoint that you might not hear from someone coming in from the more metropolitan areas, Janesville, Beloit, and Racine. So they're childcare deserts. It's really hard to find staff. The salary is another one, the wages. For me, I'm privileged. I'm done. I don't need the childcare. I have the privilege of having family around the area. Grandma, she wanted grandchildren, and so we got really lucky there. But I see a lot of my peers, 30s or even younger, they want to have kids, and they'll have good jobs. They'll be an accountant for the state, a plumber, and the trade. But then it gets to the point, where's there that level of accessibility, right? Now I have to drive an hour to go to that daycare because that's the only one available to us that has those certain hours, or we're not on a wait list.
Well, and I think you bring up something that's very important there is that I feel like when people speak about democratic politics, there's a certain belief that the rural area of the community are going to be not represented. And that's not true at all. You are bringing that recognition and that need for services to that area that we've talked about on this show for years now, that that policies that come out from Washington and from Madison, regardless of the side, can really impact the rural community. Yes, absolutely. And then just being a vocal point and a megaphone, that way bringing attention, being a board member, you hear a lot of concerns is the positive way I'm going to put it. But, for our teachers, a lack of support. And you just see the surplus at the state level, and then now what's going on with the Department of Education, special education, like Republicans, they promised the 45 reimbursement rate, and now they're giving that 32. And so it's extremely frustrating. And this has really put a focal point on this. And I totally, when I saw Senator Sanders put the proposal for a minimum of $60,000 for teachers, 100% on that commitment. Well, on that, as far as you're talking about affordability, that's something we talk about a lot here in the state and on the shows and whatnot. What are the other points of your campaign that you want people to know about that are real concerns for you that you are going to be working towards and informing people as you are running over the next, 8 to 11 months, depending on the outcomes?
Yeah, so the message is very simple. I know sometimes it doesn't click with certain folks that I've been connecting with. I would say very simple. That way people can remember it. It's a good home and a good job, preferably a union one. But just so those who are union members in Walworth County, there really isn't any unions there, sadly. And so that's what I've been trying to help with is the increase of union membership there as well through the campaign. But being on the Economic Development Committee for the city for a little bit, we try to be careful, but housing, there's a lack of housing. When you say affordable, then right away, just working with Republicans to say, oh, I don't want to use my taxpayer money for people that can't afford a house. Well, the thing is, talking to a lot of younger voters, they just can't find that good job. And so that's good. Okay, so if we can guarantee them a good job, then we don't really have to subsidize a lot of the housing for them.
Yeah.
But then the construction costs and the labor costs keep increasing, and so it's just this like circle that affects all these factors with one another. And then also the other thing, so a lot of our rural towns, I'm going to say it, they're dying. I'm a member of the League of Women Voters, a member of Kiwanis group, and a lot of my friends are retirees, and I get asked a lot, how can we get more young people? And so it's not just like a political party trying to recruit or anything like that, but how can we get more young people in service and volunteer? And when I talk to my peers, they're exhausted. They go work, if they have overtime, trying maybe 2-3 jobs, they're exhausted. They can't, volunteer service is something they are not even thinking about. And so if we offered them just, hey, maybe just one job.
Yes.
Yes. And my dad had that privilege, and he's comfortable now, but that one job, 8-hour shift. If they want to do overtime, that's great, right? But, they should be within those needs. That job, get a mortgage, a working car too, preferably, and, avoid all those car issues. And then that's when you can start talking about getting more people involved in the communities. And for the housing too, a big platform of mine is, and this kind of relates a lot to the Latino constituency. I know it's going to be immigration reform. And I know sometimes there's polling, and this is what concerns me and why I put my name in the race as well, is, immigration is usually 4th or 5th, right, when you see some of the polling. But I know a lot of and when I look at some of those numbers, I look at how they did the polling. So I'm looking, did you speak to Spanish speakers, right? Did you maybe make that effort? Do you have someone in your crew that speaks Spanish and ask those questions?
Yeah.
Because I've door knocked, I've canvassed in Spanish, and I am collecting different information. And immigration tends to be one of the top priorities within our Latino constituency. And they do all the everything that needs to be done. They follow the rules. They try to, but a lot of people don't know the difficulties. I've been through it. I grew up in a mixed status family household. I've had family members go with the process. And so I know the level of difficulty. There is no line.
Don't go anywhere, folks. We've got more with our interview with Miguel Aranda, who is a candidate for Wisconsin's first congressional district. When we come back, we're going to be talking about his work within more discussion about his work within the Latino population, as well as the day that we did this interview. The shootings in Minneapolis happened between an ICE agent and Renee Good. So don't go anywhere. We're going to have more with Miguel coming up at the other side of the break. Don't go anywhere. You're listening to Mid-Morning on Civic Media. My name is Greg Bach. Stay tuned. Stay close. Welcome back. You are listening to Mid Mornings on Civic Media. My name is Greg Bach. I'm your host. I'm your buddy. I'm your pal. We are here today with candidate Miguel Aranda, who is running for the Congressional District number 1 here in Wisconsin for the U.S. Congress. And we've been talking about his story, his background, why he is running, what he is running for in the 1st Congressional District, and how his experiences connect to all of us who live in that area. And Miguel, something you brought up earlier that I want to touch on again is your deep commitment and love for your Latino community.
Yes.
And in 2024, in the election, there was talk, and of a movement of the Latino vote to the right.
Yes.
Now, I think media is media, and they want to get headlines, and they'd love to be able to put that up there. I want to know, one, your thoughts on that alone, but also when the big machine of politics, regardless of party, wants to approach the Latino community, what do they get wrong? How can they do better? And what are the myths that they think that make up your community where they treat you almost as a monolith?
Yeah. Oh, I was so frustrated when I heard that.
Yeah.
That is just my personal opinion, and that's a big reason. Being a Latino male, one of many reasons I put my name, because just to show other Latinos that, hey, it's still important to get involved in politics. But when I heard, the Latino males are all moving conservative, and the Republicans, even though George Bush back in like 2004 got pretty good margins too, that they're all moving right. And I got so frustrated because the reason I got frustrated is what I was listening to is I already saw like Trump having a good chance of winning.
Yeah.
From what I was hearing. And again, going to, like inflation, not good jobs, that comes down to those kitchen table issues.
Yes.
Your utilities. And that's a big reason where my messaging comes in is what I'm hearing is people are not being heard.
Yes.
And then when I heard that, I was like, don't say that. And obviously, I don't have that level of influence going. I'm an MSNBC writer, Fox News, to say any of that. But one thing I'm also now warning Democrats too, because, with the big wins in New Jersey and Virginia, they're saying, we got all the Latinos back, right?
Yes.
And I'm like,
we're fine. The work's done, guys.
Yeah, we're done. I'm like, and I'm still raising the flag. No, we are not.
Nope.
I will 100% will bet that if we don't show them, allow our Latino constituency, Spanish-speaking folks, that we can do the work as Democrats, I can promise you they will vote Republican again. Yes.
Yeah. Now, I had other questions I want to ask, but I would be remiss if I didn't bring up that when this interview is being done, we have found out just a few hours before that ICE agents had killed a woman in Minnesota. Miguel, I know this is, I'm sorry we don't have a lot of time to talk about it, but I do know that after this interview, you're going up to Milwaukee for a protest. What was your thoughts when you heard this?
I'm pissed.
Yeah.
I'm going to Milwaukee right now. I don't know what the situation, I don't know the full story. I usually wait on the story, but the level of recklessness and lack of training that ICE agents have, from what I've been reading, is just a disaster. It's a disgrace. And so what ended up happening, right? I'm not sure. I believe there was a protester. They just didn't stop, and one of the ICE agents shot her through the window. They could have gotten, at least from what I've talked to local law enforcement, to avoid more a dangerous scene. They could have just taken the license plate and find that individual later.
Yeah.
They did not have to do that, and it's violence that's unnecessary, and that should not be happening at all.
I'd like to say I'm sure everyone agreed, but no, we're already seeing reports from various quote unquote luminaries from the GOP who are automatically placing blame everywhere but where it belongs, in my opinion. That is my opinion. But I wanted to get your quick thought on that. And I know because it is still very fresh story. There's still information coming out as we know more. And I'm sure you're going to have these conversations on the campaign trail. And I want to bring it now back to the campaign. What, in 2026, you've announced there is a primary happening in August. What are you going to do to bring light to yourself that's going to separate yourself from the other candidates in the Democratic field as we wrap up this interview with Miguel Aranda?
Yeah, so just running against style. So if I were the candidate, I've looked through the past, I've looked through the numbers. Every Democrat candidate loses by double digits.
Yes.
So double margins, and with style. And what I will bring to the table is not only I would be the only one coming in from Walworth County or that that Earl feel. I actually have to work with Republicans and get stuff done. And then our Latino constituency. And so, for example, Southeast Wisconsin is very particular, right? And so we always want to look for candidates who fit that profile or their demographic.
Yeah.
And being Latino, we haven't been heard. We're not always in those certain circles that maybe have that level of influence. And so, again, I put my name in there so they can see that representation.
Yeah.
That I've already got a lot of people have door knocked and they've been motivated and they're ready to go to vote, even if they might not be able to volunteer, but they got it on their calendar.
Yeah.
And so with Southeast Wisconsin, that's something that has been missing. And that has been one of my frustrations within the party. It's like, guys, we have such a huge potential right here. And so one story that I've shared is when I ran for school board twice, I always try to bring other Democrat candidates with me, right?
Yeah.
So up and down the ballots, a lot of my Latino constituency will say, well, I only want your sign, right? I don't want other Democrat sign.
Yeah.
And another story that just recently I went to a college university and to college students and asked them, I did the whole spiel, right?
Yeah.
What I'm fighting for. And then I kind of saw blank faces. And then I said, well, let me go back and do you all know who your current representative is? And do you want to guess the level percentage, Greg?
What was it?
0%.
And if you want to know who your representative is, you can go to myvote.wi.gov. We want to make sure you know who represents you and who are your leaders in your communities. myvote.wi.gov. For more information on Miguel, go to aranda4wisconsin.com. I'm sure we'll be talking to him more throughout the campaign season. Want to thank him for his time. Don't go anywhere. When we come back after the news, we've got Dr. Kristen Lyerly talking about all things medicine, including vaccine schedules, the food pyramid, and just, anything else she's seeing as a practicing doctor. She is also the host of the Dr. Kristen Lyerly Show, of course. But don't go anywhere. Stay tuned. Stay close. This is Mid-Mornings on Civic Media. My name is Greg Bach. Good morning, Dr. Lyerly.
Oh, why are you not in my ears?
Oh, no. One moment.
I got you. Oh, I got it. It's okay. Baby,
All right.
me, not you.
That's fine. We did this together. It's great. Hi.
Hi, how are you?
I have not. I've missed you so very much. And I know that the next conversation would be like, well, I didn't hear my phone call because I always hear my mother when I say I've missed you a lot. Can you help me with that, doctor? Are you that kind of doctor? Do you ask me about my mom in my dreams?
I can be. Yeah, I can be whatever kind of doctor you want, Greg.
Oh, whoa. Can you be a cheap and or free ear, nose, and throat doctor, please? That sounds gross too. Sorry, that didn't. It's just
Cheap
we
or
live.
free.
I was having a conversation with someone on Twitter the other day, and they were talking about healthcare access, and I made it very clear. It's like I'm very lucky. I mean, honestly, I have amazing healthcare right now. My wife provides the healthcare through her work, and it is really good. And I said that, and I appreciate it. I don't take it for granted, but it does not keep me from thinking about every day falling down a set of stairs and going into bankruptcy because I've hurt myself.
Yeah. How
I
wild
mean,
is it that if
that's
you just step back, that we live in a country where you have to be related in a certain way to somebody or somebody who has
mhm.
a job that has great benefits
Yeah.
in order to get great health insurance? Because most people who are sick and need it cannot work.
Nope. And the other thing too is if you polled like even just 10 people
Mm-hmm.
who had health insurance, like same as I do, through I mean, and it's just through their work. It's not even through a spouse. If you ask all 10 of them and they have a fairly good knowledge of what their health insurance is, I bet you at least 8 of them are going to go, it's fine. You know, I am shocked when I look at though so much of my health insurance is covered, and my wife works for a bank. She doesn't work for a government. Like government has Star Spangling insurance, and I've had that insurance. It's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
But every time I go to do something, they're like, "Yep, there you go. You're all taken care of." Like, wait, don't I pay? Nope, it's covered. I'm like, who's covering this?
Yeah,
I'm
it's
just waiting
wild.
for one big bill in like 2095, and like you owe $7.2 million.
It's crazy. I used to work for the UW system back in the 20 years ago. And
Yeah.
you know what? You didn't hesitate to go to the doctor because it was paid for. You knew
Yes.
that if you were sick, you could just show up and have your needs addressed and it was fine.
Yes.
And nowadays, with these high deductible health plans, people are just not getting care. It doesn't work. A high deductible health plan with an HSA is an investment strategy. It's not healthcare.
No. And it goes back to the thing of we're putting all the responsibility on you. And if you don't do it, then you're just not the responsible one. And then people say, oh, you're right. I'm not responsible.
And then there's that layer of shame that goes along with it.
And that goes along with so many other things we put into our, whether we're talking about, health journeys, mental health journeys, weight loss journeys, trying to stop smoking, trying to stop drinking, anything we do that trips up. It's like anything we do, like if we have, I'm not going to use that. Like for myself, for eating, I have a lot of eating issues. I've had to work really hard to not look at having some ice cream at 7:30 on a Sunday night as like, failure, done. Might as well just pack it in and eat all the nachos. It's tough. It's a lot of rewiring and untraining yourself before you. It's like kind of like a dog. It's like you're not training the dog, you're training the person. I'm training my brain. Not like just trying to. That was a terrible analogy. Sorry. I thought I was going somewhere but like it's just. I mean, half the battle of all of that is rewiring your brain. But we got 20 seconds. We can talk more about that in a little while. But
okay.
Yeah.
Do I sound okay? I'm not too hot.
You sound.
Okay.
Come on now. All right. All right. We'll talk to you in a moment.
Okay.
Welcome back to Mid Mornings on Civic Media. My name is Greg Bach. I am your host. I am your buddy pal. I'm coming to you live along with Sweet Cal B on the ones and twos. We are here at Radio Park in Racine. If you want to be part of this conversation, it is going to be 855-752-4842, 855-75-CIVIC. You can leave a comment on that live stream. We are currently streaming on Facebook, YouTube, the platform we still call Twitter. Still lots of show ahead for the next hour at 10:35. Guys, it's the end of another Packer season, and there are questions. And those questions are, did we win last night? I can't remember. No, I'm just kidding. No, yeah, we're going to talk about the Packers. We're going to talk about this season, and I know Paul and JR are not here, and we'll dive deeper into that later in the week. But, it was an interesting season, and I'd love to get your takes on it, folks. You can always call or drop a message on the live stream. Leave a voice note if you have the Civic Media app, which, by the way, get the Civic Media app. It's absolutely free. You can listen, you can call, you can text, you can leave a voice note. Don't have to like me. if you want to leave a voice note, that's true as well. And then this shouldn't be a thing today. It's the For the Dogs edition. So don't go anywhere. Lots of great programming, including After Us, It Doesn't End. Tom Hartman from 11 to 2. John and Gordy in the afternoon from 2 to 5. And then Pete Schwaba from 5 to 8. And if you go back to the civicmedia.us/shows, you can download Nightlight from last Friday. And in the 5:30 segment, you can hear an interview with a scruffy ne'er-do-well who likes comedy and movies. His name is something Bach. I have no idea. But
Johann Sebastian.
Oh, did you hear that? That's okay. Wow. Way to like really ruin my intro there. I'm just kidding. You know that voice. She's a friend. She's a wonderful human being. We love her dearly. It's been way too long since we've had her on. She is the host of the Dr. Kristen Lyerly Show here on Civic Media, noon on Saturdays, right? Noon now.
Noon on Saturdays and Sundays, all across the Civic Media Network. And can I just give a shout out? Also, we are in Chicago on WCPT, AM 820. And last weekend, we debuted in Atlanta on Sundays at noon Eastern. So this is spreading, and man, it is exciting.
This is the host of the Dr. Kristen Lyerly Show, someone who I will eventually be like, I remember her when. I remember her back in the day. Dr. Kristen Lyerly is here. If you didn't already know that, you've got to know the voice. But oh my goodness, I didn't know you're syndicating in 2 cities, and you got your show. And you know what? Honestly, like before we get into any of that, before we get into any of the, we were talking about vaccines and whatnot, and actually had a really great conversation during the Secret Show. Which, by the way, if you want to know more about the Secret Show, that's on the live stream.
Do it.
It's full. It's still censored because we're on the radio, but we're having a fun time there discussing other things. We'll talk more about that though. But the Secret Show is where it's at for the live stream. Dr. Kristen Lyerly, I feel like we don't ever discuss this because there's so much to talk about. But tell us about your show itself. It's not just medical. It's not. It's community. It's talking to people. It's having good conversations, which is what we are all about here at Civic Media. But tell me more about the syndicated Dr. Kristen Lyerly Show.
It's wild. It's evolved so much because it really started as a Civic Media product in Northeast Wisconsin. And the goal was to shine a light on some of the cool stuff that was happening in Green Bay and Door County and Appleton. And then it grew and became statewide. So we started talking with more folks about statewide issues. And then we were in Chicago, and now we started talking about more regional issues. And now it's in Atlanta, and it's got national flavor. But there's definitely a heavy dose of Wisconsin there. So, for example, in last week's show, I talked with one of my colleagues who's an OBGYN PA. Her name is Nikki. You'll see her as Nikki Vink all over social media. And we talked about what we were talking about in the Secret Show, Greg, how to advocate for yourself as a patient, how to prepare yourself to go to the doctor, have your questions ready, make sure you've got the right appointment, especially when you're talking about something that is sensitive, because so much of our healthcare, whether you're seeing your OBGYN doctor or you're talking to somebody about your weight, that stuff is so personal, and you need to be armed and ready to have these conversations. Otherwise, your doctors, your nurse practitioners, they don't have a ton of time because of restrictions with our healthcare system. So you've got to make the most of your time. You've got to go in knowing what you need and who your allies are. So that was our show last week. This week, oh my gosh, I did not know this, but Jess Craven, many of us follow Jess Craven on social media. She's got an amazing Substack. She does a lot of this. She does a lot of organizing. She gives us hope with her chop wood, carry water daily affirmation that tells us how we can survive. I tried carrying water once.
My back hurts now. So
yeah, one thing at a time. A little glass of water, maybe. But Jess is brilliant on Instagram and TikTok. She just gives you that little dose of here's what's happening in the world and here's what you can do about it. She's been doing it for almost 10 years. So Jess and I are having the conversation tonight. But in my research for the show, I found out that her name, Jess Craven, is Wes Craven, the horror movie guy, the guy who made Nightmare on Elm Street.
Wait, so you cut out a little bit. Jess Craven, is that a reference, or she's related to?
It's her dad, Wes.
Oh, it's her. Oh, man.
Yes.
R.I.P.
In Scream 2. I know. So, that's a whole other, her dad made horror movies.
Wes Craven in Scream 2.
She was in Scream 2, but her dad was Wes Craven, who was like the godfather of all of the, legendary foundational horror movies. Yeah. So, we're going to have some good conversations about the horror movie that we're living in right now and how we can how we can survive it. I'm really excited about this conversation. That's what's happening next weekend.
And like we said, you can always listen to that show live from 12 to, it's 12 to 1, correct? Or is it, how long is it? I'm sorry. It used to be 1 and now it's another, and time is a construct.
Yeah, it is. It's 12 to 1. It's not live. It's taped, but it's broadcast.
I know nothing.
Tape and broadcast, and on the app, of course, on the Civic Media
I was going
app.
to say, if you want to go to civicmedia.us/shows, you can find it there. The Dr. Kristen Lyerly Show. You can download episodes, always listen to them on your time, and then as well, you can listen to it live on the Civic Media app. And I mean, that's the thing is it just made sense to have you here doing this work, because it's an extension of the work you've been doing on all the shows for years now, being this wonderful advocate, not just for the medical world or for people to understand the medical world, but also understanding the news that's coming out of the medical world. And I wanted to say something really quick to what you were talking about as far as advocating. And this is coming from a person who is not a doctor. I am a patient, which is, if you're not feeling it with your doctor or nurse practitioner, move on. Right. I know that might seem hard, but you need to have a functioning relationship at the very least. It has to feel like you're getting something out of it. But if you feel like you're taking their time and they're not really even paying attention to you in that short window you get, then you need to move on, because I think that's important, because that'll also, it's not just the cost, Dr. Lyerly. I mean, there are times, people will say, I don't really like my doctor. I don't really like, if you don't like him, you have to find someone else if you can. It's just the way it is.
You have to feel like they actually care about you, and the decisions that they're making are in your best interest. And it doesn't have to be a doctor. PAs do amazing work. Nurse practitioners do amazing work. It could be an advanced practice practitioner. So, make a good decision. Find somebody who treats you like a whole human being and can quarterback your care. They may send you to an orthopedic surgeon. They may send you to an obstetrician gynecologist, but find that person who really gets you and knows you and understands you. That relationship literally could save your life.
Yeah, from personal experience, I was searching for. I've had doctors, and I've also had nurse practitioners. I would advocate honestly for nurse practitioners as well, because there's a little more availability there sometimes. But I found a doctor through a friend, and it's a drive. It's probably about a 55 minute drive from me to the doctor's office, but I'm comfortable with him. He came recommended through someone. So if I only have to go there once a year, it's worth the time to at least have that conversation in that room and feel like I'm being listened to and cared about. So yeah, I mean, that's another situation we can talk about for days. But right now I want to focus our time with Dr. Kristen Lyerly, who is our guest this morning on Mid Mornings on Civic Media, discussing the new information that came out of the Department of Health and Human Services regarding vaccinations. The department led by, well, not a doctor, but they don't have to be, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., they have decided that relaxing the schedule, the amount of vaccines, the schedule of vaccines is what they want to become the official policy of this country, which has caused, as you, I'm sure know, a lot of consternation here in Wisconsin and abroad about how to approach this topic. But as a set measure, I just want to say up top, whatever the U.S. recommends, fine, not fine, but like you are still in control of that. You and your doctor are still in control of what you want to do for your vaccination schedule for your children, correct?
Yes, but how many people know what the vaccination schedule was and know how to get access to that? It's available, but this is one of the things that you count on your doctor to do. This is, especially if you're talking about taking care of your kids, when you go in for those routine scheduled visits, when your babies are very young, they are the ones who tell you, here's where we're at on the schedule. Here's what we need to do today. Here's what we should do next time. And they stick to that vaccine schedule very closely, because we know over years and years of evidence, data, expert opinion, conversation, they have built that vaccine schedule that they constantly reevaluate using new information. This is a long, arduous process to build this schedule to have 17 vaccine preventable diseases on it. So for RFK Jr. to just take it all away and say, we're going to just trim it down from 17 to 11. Also, we're going to change the timing without any data, any evidence, any experts at the table. It's just It doesn't make any sense. It's reckless.
I
It's
felt like
reckless.
I felt like you were going to FCC noncompliance territory right there. Like, I really want to cuss. I really want to cuss.
I did. It's a dramatic pause because really what's going to happen is it's putting our kids in danger. And, my 19-year-old said to me yesterday, and he's not a medical kid and he's fun and he's on TikTok. And he said, Mom, did you know that Wisconsin has some of the worst vaccination rates for kindergartners in the whole country? And I said, you know what, buddy? It's true. It's absolutely true because
I feel like that's a question for you. You're like, yeah, I
Yeah,
know
did.
that.
As a matter of fact, because 15 years ago, we started giving people excuses not to get vaccines. And that was all lined up with the Walker administration and
15 years
Republican
ago, what?
control of
Oh.
Wisconsin. So this is a consequence of
Mhm.
Republican control of Wisconsin. So in 15 years, we will start to see, it'll be before that, but we'll start to see more vaccine preventable diseases. We're already seeing it: whooping cough, measles, COVID, flu. We're already seeing vaccine preventable diseases rising because of misinformation and politics interfering in our medical care. But the good news is, Greg, that organizations like the American Academy of Pediatrics, the American College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists, and our own Department of Health Services here in Wisconsin have all said, nope, we are sticking to the old schedule. That is medicine. That's how we're going to take care of our patients.
And that was the question I was going to ask next before we head into we grab some snacks and some water really quick, because Dr. Lyerly says stay hydrated. That even though there's a new schedule from the U.S. federal side, when I say it doesn't matter, I don't mean as in like it doesn't matter. It does matter, the conversation specifically. But when you go into your doctor's office, that doctor, at least in Wisconsin, will most likely be sticking to the original schedule of all of those vaccinations, or at the very least saying, that's what they say. This is what I believe. Of course, the parents have the decision to make, but it's not like the doctors are going to be pressured to give a new schedule. They can recommend what they feel is right, correct?
I think that's a very important question for patients to ask their doctors. Which schedule are you recommending? Is it the new CDC schedule, or is it the old one recommended by pediatricians?
All right. And we're going to talk more about just, you brought it up, the food pyramid. I'm kind of just staring at it like a craziness there, but we'll talk more about that on the other side of the break with our dear friend, Dr. Kristen Lyerly, host of the Dr. Kristen Lyerly Show, available on the Civic Media app in Chicago and Atlanta, but more coming. Don't go anywhere. It's Civic Media. It's mid-mornings on Civic Media. My name is Greg Bach. Jack from Merrimack, I do see you on the line. Don't go anywhere. And if you want to be part of the conversation, give a call or text 855-752-4842. But stay tuned, stay informed, and stay close. To the world you want to live in. All right.
Nice.
Kristen Lyerly.
And I put this in the chat, and I know we don't have a ton of time, but I'm happy to talk about the accident. And as a doctor who is also a patient, I have stories. Stories.
I don't know if we'll get to it, but honestly, I wouldn't mind having you back sooner than later to talk about that topic then, because I think that's also another thing as well, is like, doctors are patients as well.
Yeah. And doctors who seek care are more knowledgeable. So we see the gaps, and I've seen a lot of gaps, and I have plenty of time on my hands, so I can chase those down. I'm having a blast.
All right. We got a comment I'll bring that up too. A comment from Rob. Prepatellar bursitis. I just want to make sure I said that right.
Oh, prepatellar bursitis. That must be Rob from Tigerton.
It is. Yeah. We'll bring that. We'll bring that up towards the end as well. Hi, Rob. Hi, everybody. By the way, hi everybody on the live stream. This is called The Secret Show. The Secret Show, where we have fun. It's still FCC compliant because I don't want to get fired, but we have some fun. We have some laughs, hopefully. And yeah, if you want to be part of The Secret Show, you can always drop a comment, because the people listening on the radio can't hear this. They can't talk about anything with us. It's only me, Dr. Lyerly, Calvin, and the rest of you. So, all right. We come back in about a minute. Are you going to be down in the southeastern Wisconsin area at all coming up?
No, I have a cast on my foot, and it's really hard to get around in this weather when it's icy, because I'm on crutches or a scooter.
I'm sorry to interrupt you for there. You have 4 sons, and
they could carry me.
We could fashion you like an empress chair,
like a papoose.
Yes, and they can carry you on their shoulders, and just through like Take me to the living room. That's only like 4 steps. Take me to the living room.
This is genius. I'm definitely going there.
All right, cool. All right. 20 seconds. Welcome back to Mornings. Oh my gosh, Calvin. Okay.
What's the name of your show?
Whatever. It's just because, hey, your show has the name in the title. It's like you're like 95% there. If you forget, that's weird. But you are listening to Mid Mornings on Civic Media. My name is Greg Bach. I'm your host. I am a person of sound mind, unlike I just showed you just here. But we are here on the Civic Media Radio Network. We are coming to you live from Radio Park in Racine. If you want to be part of the conversation, 855-752-4842, 855-75-CIVIC. Leave a comment on that live stream. You can also get in touch with us via the Civic Media app. You can call, you can text, leave a voice message, voice note, and we'd love to hear from you. We're talking to Dr. Kristen Lyerly, who's the host of the Dr. Kristen Lyerly Show. She never forgets the name of her show. That is on Civic Media Saturdays and Sundays from noon to 1. It's also available in Chicago and Atlanta, and we're very proud of her for that. So we're talking about all things medicine, all things in the news medicine. We were speaking earlier about the announced relaxation of the vaccination schedule from the Department of Health and Human Services. I will sum that up in pretty much a sentence or two. The original, the one that they currently were using, the old version, I guess you would call it, is still available with your doctor. And as you said, Dr. Lyerly, if you are looking at vaccinations for your children, make that like maybe the top question. Which schedule do you use? And you can go from there. But it's lots more to break down on that. We don't have a lot of time, but I wanted to get to Jack from Merrimack, who's been waiting patiently. Jack, what say you this morning?
First thing I want to say is ignore anything that is coming out of Kennedy's mouth. He's going to kill people. Well, he already probably has. I mean, we've seen deaths from measles. Measles was supposedly eliminated in 2000. Between the new vaccination schedule, the recommendation for a high-fat, high-cholesterol diet, and simply lies about various drugs from ivermectin to Tylenol, for crying out loud. This is going to kill people.
Yeah.
Talk to your physician and find out what the reality is. As Dr. Lyerly pointed out, you want to find a physician that you feel you can trust.
Mm-hmm.
But you can't trust anything coming out of this so-called Health and Human Services Department. You can't trust it any more than you can trust the EPA to admit that there's climate change going on, which has also, by the way, been scrubbed from the website.
Yeah. Jack, thank you very much, Jack. We got to keep moving on here. We got very little time. And that's something Jack brings up I think is very important as well. As one point is, and it's never a matter of don't take Tylenol bad, is don't take Tylenol. We're not sure, shrug shoulder. And then people go, well, I don't know about Tylenol then because a guy in a suit said shrug shoulder. And the same thing with climate change, they'll just tell you it does not exist. But it's not a matter of we have found information saying that Tylenol will harm your child or the mother while being pregnant. It is we're not really sure. Well, you're the Department of Health and Human Services. Be sure, provide studies, get data, and then say something. But don't go, we're looking into that. We'll come back to it later. And nary a word has been said about Tylenol since, unless the president says it off key and off topic. And then the other thing too, and I want to talk about really quick, Jack brings it up, is that there's a new food pyramid that seems to just want you to drink raw milk and eat meat. What is that?
Yeah. Well, at first, I just wanted to say, Jack, you are so right. And as a physician who has often turned to the CDC for the latest in advice and research and materials that we use to take care of our patients, we are very skeptical. There are still some good people out there. They do
Yes.
still some good reporting. So you have to be very careful with the information that you choose to share.
Yeah.
We're doing our best to navigate that. But I would say always, when you're making your own healthcare decisions, talk to your doctor. Make sure you are using resources that are supported by the doctors and the medical societies, not the politicians. And it's the same thing for the food pyramids. I mean, yay for Wisconsin, dairy shot up to the top of the food pyramid. Only because if you look at that full report, and I did this, and you scroll down to the disclosures, the people who put the report together, the disclosures it's the most interesting part of the report, because first there's a disclosure for the disclosure, and it just fawns over President Trump. President Trump has elevated this food pyramid, and President Trump it is like, it's weird how they keep using his name in materials like this.
They
don't use the same standards that they do for federal employees, and they only look at the last 3 years of these authors' histories. So if you look at their financial disclosures, even in the last 3 years, they are all tied in very deeply with big beef. Not surprising, because red meat is at the top of the food pyramid now. Dairy, pork, supplements. I mean, these people are compromised. They are not your scientists who fight to not have conflicts of interest. These are people who are walking conflicts of interest, putting this material together, making you believe it so that you'll buy more red meat if you can afford it.
Yep. Yeah. Well, and that goes back to what you said earlier too, is that, you know, if this sort of thing gives you pause, luckily we still live in a society that we have access to greater deals of studies, data, and other experts who are saying, look, if you want to eat more red meat, I guess you can, but here is what you really should be eating if this is what works for your body. Again, a conversation to be had with your doctor, a certified nutritionalist, those types of people. If you really want to eat better and look at your diet, then that's where, you know, I would say never go to the government for that information. Always go to your doctor. Always go to a trained professional, correct?
Usually they work together. Usually the
Not anymore.
doctors are informing these government recommendations, but that's not happening right now. So please be careful and safe.
Please be careful. And please listen to the Dr. Kristen Lyerly Show Saturdays and Sundays, noon to 1 here on Civic Media. You can also catch it on the app. You can also download it by going to civicmedia.us/shows. Dr. Lyerly, always a pleasure having you here. Please come back sooner than later. It is so great to see you, my friend.
Thank you, Greg. Thank you, sweet Cal. Mwah.
All right, when we come back, audio sorbet, maybe audio gripe. The Packer season is over. What are your thoughts? Where do we go from here? And who should stay and who should go? Want to know about that from you as well. As always, get in touch with us, 855-752-4842. This is Mid Mornings on Civic Media. My name is Greg Bach. Stay tuned and stay close. Welcome back. You are listening to Mid Mornings on Civic Media. My name is Greg Bach. I am your host, and I am your pal. And along with Sweet Calby on the boards, we are coming to you live from Radio Park here in Racine. Very happy to have you along with us for the ride today. Very happy that you could make time for us, and always appreciate you giving us a listen. And always appreciate you being here. And if you want to be part of that conversation, 855-752-4842. 855-75-CIVIC is the number. Call or text. You can also use the Civic Media app to do the same thing. Also leave a voice note if you want. You can always leave a voice note. And then if you are on the live stream, we are on Facebook, YouTube, and the platform we still call Twitter. You can leave a comment on the live stream. I'm so sorry to Rob from Tigerton, we did not have a moment to get to your comment while Dr. Lyerly is here, but I'll read it here. Rob from Tigerton, Dr. Kristen, has been a huge help as I've developed she said it correctly, prepultatellar, I got it now, prepatellar bursitis. And I drink plenty of water. That Greg actually made me do it. Yes, if you ever listened to the Pat Kreitlow show, for a long time when Rob was on, I always tell him to drink more water because he needs to drink more water. We all need to drink more water. I'm going to grab my water right now. But yeah, we are in the audio sorbet portion of the show. Happy to have you here. And I will just rip the Band-Aid off right away. The Packers season is over. They lost to the Bears. And it was, I mean, from what I was able to watch, it was a come from behind last moment victory. Calvin, did you watch the game? What were your thoughts on the game as well as this season? I know that we've had Paul and JR here talking about it, but you are a Packer fan. You are a football fan. What are your thoughts?
I didn't watch the game, so I hesitate to call myself too much of a fan. But while I was playing video games up in my room, I heard my mom and my brother yelling at the TV. So I got the reactions. Mm-hmm. I think the clear and obvious thing just solely based on that game is that we need a kicker. Yeah.
I heard that the gentleman did not do well. And I mean, if I'm looking at the points here, I feel like I should have watched.
They lost by 4.
They lost by 4, and 25 of Chicago's points were in the fourth quarter.
Yes, and the kicker missed. Our kicker, Brian McManus, missed 2 field goals and an extra point, so that's 7 points left on the field. He's older, and he's of questionable moral integrity.
Go into that.
He has, on his previous team, he has allegations.
Of what?
I don't want to get it wrong.
Okay, hold on. What's his name again?
Brian McManus. I believe he has allegations of sexually assaulting a massage therapist.
Okay, there we are. Let's just look at that real quick. 2024 was sued by 2 flight attendants alleging that he sexually assaulted them during a team charter flight from Jacksonville to London. Okay.
So what I'm saying is I encourage the team to get rid of it.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, I did. I feel like honestly, I feel like I did know that. I feel like I heard that early in the season, or early when they got him, because the Packers don't usually it's controversy like that is usually escapes the Packers. It's not usually something we don't see that a lot in the news. Can't speak to how they behave after the season is over, whether it's spreading conspiracy theories or committing fraud in Mississippi. But the point is, allegedly, that I had heard about Mr. McManus, that he had missed some kicks, and that would have been the game for them. But it's also the fact that they were able to get 25 points on the Packers when, looking at the score, or looking at the point score throughout the game. I mean, they were doing quite well. The Packers were. They were staying consistent, at least putting at least one in almost every quarter, and then it just seemed to, and keeping the Bears down with 6 points. And then in the fourth quarter, they just came back and just crushed it and crushed us. And, I want to know from you folks listening, 855-752-4842, 855-75-CIVIC. Leave a comment on that live stream. We are on Facebook, YouTube, and the platform we still call Twitter. What did you think of the game? What did you think of the season? And where do we go from here? I mean, I know we don't do sports a lot when JR and Paul aren't here, but I think this is when we talked to Paul last week, I felt like that the Packers really, and tell me if I'm wrong, Calvin, kind of got lucky getting even into the wild card because they just were not playing consistently. They weren't playing well. And the fact that they even made it here was, I thought, a little surprising. And I don't know what people's expectations were for last Saturday. And especially if they would have beaten the Bears, what would have happened the next round? Because it feels like it would have been like, we'll just see where we're going. I mean, Calvin, what were your thoughts on the season on a whole regarding the team and where the choices they made?
I think as far as like personnel, as like trades and signings, I think it was actually a pretty incredible season. We added a lot of players that I think are going to help the team out in the future. We got plagued by injuries.
But that seems like okay, so, I mean, I'm sorry to interrupt you right there, but I feel like when we talked, by the way, I keep on mentioning Paul and JR. Paul and JR are sports gurus. We talk to them every Thursday at 10:35. We discuss all things Wisconsin sports. And that's something, and maybe you can speak to this too, because I feel like you know more about, especially football and basketball. But I feel like when I'm having a conversation with those two, whether it's football, whether it's the Packers, whether it's the Bucks, whether it's the Brewers, I feel like there's always a point where we're just riddled with injuries. And I don't know if that's just a Wisconsin thing, that we're just unlucky, or is every state having this conversation, we're just riddled with injuries?
Injuries are a part of sports.
Yes.
Every team deals, especially in the NFL, being healthy is the number one thing that affects whether you're going to win a Super Bowl or not.
Yeah.
So every team deals with it and is probably saying similar. All the other teams that are out are probably saying similar things. I will say Micah Parsons, who is one of the big trades that I talked about earlier, he is a top 2 or 3 player at his position, and he is probably a top 10 or 20 player in the entire NFL. So losing him is a major blow to our defense.
Yeah.
And I just think, I don't think the Packers will fire Matt LaFleur, and I don't think that they should fire Matt LaFleur, but there is a tendency that he has that against teams that are below the Packers in ability, or in games where we happen to be up by a lot, where he radically changes his mindset or strategy to a point where it allows teams to have these huge comebacks against us.
It's very interesting. I mean, that's the thing is, like, I woke up this morning to Twitter, and actually this weekend, people just saying, fire him. And I feel like that's the easy place to go. Do you think the Packers should move on from Matt LaFleur? Do you think it's time to restructure the coaching side of it? I don't think they're going to do anything with Jordan Love. He's in a contract, and I think there's still lots of, it's his 3rd season, and his first season was unexpectedly brilliant and amazing for as far as they got on a young team, and no one had a lot of expectations of them. Felt a lot the same. That was the same thing for the Brewers this year too. People were expecting, quote, rebuilding, and we'll be lucky if we get this many wins, and then they end up going to the NLCS. But do you think the Packers should make any major moves? I'll ask Kelvin, and I'll ask the audience here. Do you think or should we? All right, this was not a great year. We had a lot of injuries. Let's focus on healing. Let's focus on the strategy for next season. Or should we just put a stick of dynamite in and go start over? I mean, that's what Calvin, thoughts on that one?
As far as players, definitely don't start over. I think we have a good core to build from. For coaching, I don't think they should get rid of Matt LaFleur. I definitely don't think they will. From a management standpoint, the president or the GM, whoever's making the head coaching calls, I'm fairly confident they're not going to replace him. Simply because he makes the playoffs, and at the end of the day, you have to make the playoffs to win the Super Bowl. And then in a lot of ways, with the parity in the NFL and the fact that, as opposed to baseball and basketball where you play a series of games in the playoffs, NFL, you get one game, you lose, you're out. So in a lot of ways, it's you make the playoffs and then it's a dice roll from there.
Okay.
So I don't think they'll get rid of him, and I don't think they should. I
Okay.
would like for him to have some maybe self-reflection and change things up, but
Do we need to buy Matt LaFleur a gift card to like a spa, just have a day to himself where he can sit back and go, what did we learn from the 2025 season this year? Yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting again, when your team is out. I know this as a Brewers fan, there's almost a certain amount of relaxation that comes in the shoulders. You're bummed, but it's all about now you have even the I would say, and tell me if I'm wrong, Calvin, the upside to losing at this point and being out is that gives you now a month and a half more for your team, or maybe about a month for your team to heal, because that's a big thing too in sports is the further you go in the playoffs and if you make the championships, from the time the championships are over to when the new season starts, that's all time you've lost healing because you're still playing. So one of the upsides is you can get those players up and around and getting going and making a new strategy. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see where we take it for the next season. It'll be interesting to see where the Packers are thinking as far as like, especially with that conversation that we had regarding Jordan Love passing the ball versus rushing the ball. John from Oshkosh, listening on WISS, says, time for a change. LaFleur doesn't hold assistants accountable. Not a good player/coach manager. Always seems to be outcoached in the second half. Time for a change. So yeah, I mean, and that's sort of the mindset I saw a lot on social media. People who feel like he should be gone, is that it's just not a very fluid office, and it seems like there's no consistency. And as you said, Calvin, the change in strategy at the last moment also breeds a sense of inconsistency and chaos that might not be helpful for those who are playing on the team or working for him. Dan from Wausau, listening to WXCO, says might as well get Tucker for a kicker next year if the franchise is okay with sexual harassment. Tucker who is he speaking about?
he is talking about Justin Tucker, the former kicker for the Baltimore Ravens. He is,
good Lord,
arguably the greatest kicker of all time.
Oh, so it's always, he's really, really good, but also kind of, who he is. All right, great. Well, we'll look forward to more on this. We'll be talking more about this. As I said, we always talk to J.R. Radcliffe and Paul Noonan on Thursdays, 10:35, to discuss all things sports. I promise you, when they're on, they go deeper and better than I do. Calvin, thank you so much for being the sports guru for this Monday morning. When we come back, we're going to close the show out with This Shouldn't Be a Thing. Today, it's the For the Dogs edition. And don't forget, after we're done, we got Tom Hartman from 11 to 2. We got John and Gordy in the afternoon from 2 to 5, and then Pete Schwaba and Nightlight from 5 to 8. So there's lots of great programming out here on Civic Media still ahead. Don't go anywhere. Get yourself a snack. Get yourself some water. Stay tuned. Stay close. You're listening to Mid Mornings on Civic Media. My name is Greg Bach. I'm your host. Talk to you in a moment. Welcome back to Mid Mornings on Civic Media. My name is Greg Bach. I am your host, your buddy, your pal. You are here with me and Sweet Cal B on the boards. We are coming to you live from Radio Park in Racine. If you want to be a part of that conversation, you can always call or text 855-752-4842, 855-75-CIVIC. Leave a comment on the live stream. We are currently on Facebook, YouTube, and the platform we still call Twitter. As I said before, lots of great programming ahead for this morning and to the afternoon and to the evening here on Civic Media. After us, there'll be a news break, and then Tom Hartman from 11 to 2. 2 to 5 finds us in the middle of afternoons with John and Gordy. And then from 5 to 8, Pete Schwaba and Nightlight take us into the evening. And don't forget, too, we also have great music stations here at Civic Media. And you can find all of that. You can stream the talk. You can stream the music by getting the Civic Media app on your device. It is absolutely free. Go to wherever you get your apps, download it, and that way you can be part of the conversation. You can text and call. You can also be a part of our text to win contests when we have them, but it's all right there on the handy-dandy Civic Media mobile app. Tomorrow, let's take a look at the calendar for tomorrow. We're going to be speaking with Brenna Godar, who is a staff attorney with UW Law's State Democracy Research Initiative. And we'll also be speaking to Melissa, hopefully Gira Grant inside, and then we'll be talking about the resistance to ICE in Chicago. So it's going to be a really great show for you tomorrow. Please be part of that conversation. Come on back, and we'd love to have you here. As we always said, we appreciate your time. We know it's very, very precious, especially time here. It's almost 10. It's 10:54, which means it is arrived, Calvin, another edition of This Shouldn't Be a Thing. If you ever have a thing that should not be, you're going to go ahead and send it to Calvin and me at janesays@civicmedia.us. Yes, Jane Says is still active as an email address, so janesays@civicmedia.us. Send us your thoughts on a TISBAT topic, a guest, a general topic, and we'd love to hear from you. We've heard from many of you. We've covered those in the past, so email us, janesays@civicmedia.us. Today's This Shouldn't Be a Thing. It's the For the Dogs edition. Comes all the way from the New Zealand Herald. Jeremy Wilkinson. Calvin, it's coming from New Zealand. You know what that means, right? Do you know what that means when it's coming from like New Zealand or Australia?
That it's upside down.
Okay, no, it means I'm just going to probably do an accent. Thanks a lot. Okay, cool. All right. The headline reads, Winning Greyhound tests positive for methamphetamine, but racing investigators can't find the source. So, a greyhound that tested positive for methamphetamines after winning its race has left its owner and racing investigators scratching their heads about how the dog could have gotten contaminated. Trainer Craig Anderson, who's 68, was shocked by the results, vehemently expressing he had never touched the drug and had no idea how his dog came into contact with it. The investigators from the Racing Integrity Board, or also known as RIB, turned up at his property for a drug screening of his 6 greyhounds. They found one that had it. The name is Hilton Hustler. Those are such weird names. Tested positive for a Class A substance. The previous afternoon, the dog had won its race at Addington, but had been swabbed post-race. Interesting. Very interesting there. Forensic samples were taken of Anderson and his wife and the dogs and the kennels and his vehicle, which all returned a negative result. So now they're scratching their head. But I would just say, if there are any dogs listening, Calvin, you got dogs, I got a dog. If you're all listening, say no. Say no to methamphetamines. Yeah, you'll get an extra stride in your step. Yeah, it might help you win that race, pump that iron, but it's not good for you, kids. Just say no to dog methamphetamine. And they are continuing the investigation, even though, according to this article from the New Zealand Herald, he has never touched it. He's never been in contact with it. There was a charge laid before Anderson at the Racing Integrity Board, but they also said, because there's no evidence, they're not really going to do anything. There's not going to be a fine. They said they're not going to be a fine, and they're not going to penalize him. They're not going to penalize him for the positive drug test. They're just trying to figure out how, in good gracious name, that dog came into contact with. I'm going to say it's maybe the neighbors down the street, Calvin. If they have greyhounds, check them for methamphetamines, because they might just be injecting dogs. I'm not an investigator. I'm not a PI, but I've watched a lot of British murder mysteries. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I guess I shouldn't be shocked, but I'm just more surprised that there's a whole anti-doping board for dog racing. I don't know. That's kind of funny to me.
I mean, that just goes to ask the question: what if there was a whole racing circuit where it was just absolute, like, go ahead? Because they do have, like, in weightlifting or in bodybuilding, where they present their bodies and they get all like tan and very bumpy. There's a whole subsect where it's like, take whatever drugs you want. We're not even going to test you. You're fine as long as it's, it's on you. But I'm not advocating for. I feel like I'm advocating for giving dogs drugs. I'm not. I think that dogs are the perfect drug because they make you so happy. How is that? Does that feel like I rounded that one up there, Calvin? Made it sound nice.
Yeah, I think you landed it nicely.
Thank you very much. All right, so they're still trying to figure out what's going on there, and apparently Mr. Anderson, no relation to the Matrix guy, is not going to be given any sort of fine, but they're going to keep an eye on these puppers because we want to make sure they're staying clean here in 2026. But that brings us to the end of another edition of This Shouldn't Be a Thing. I want to thank Calvin. I want to thank Tucker. I want to thank engineering. I want to thank traffic. Without you, all of your combined effort, I would be talking to myself in a microphone that did not work. I want to thank the listeners, the callers, the texters, the people who are watching on the live stream. Without you, there's no us. You give us your time. We appreciate that. As we said, for tomorrow, we got great guests coming your way, including Melissa Guerra-Grant, who will be talking about the inside resistance in Chicago against ICE, and then another person discussing from UW Law, the State Democracy Research Initiative. So we'll be having a great conversation tomorrow with you here because you want to stick around in Civic Media. Listen to more shows coming up. Listen to the music. Be a part of it. We love it. Have a wonderful day, everybody. My name is Greg Bach. You're listening to Mid Mornings on Civic Media. Stay tuned, stay informed, stay close.